So we're stripping paint off the frame and some other components, basically all the black stuff. So the reason I went with the paint stripping, I didn't want to go like sandblasting route and then go repaint it with the primer, sand it all, and deal kind of with that mess. Well, although this also a big mess, as you can tell on the table. So the reason I decided to strip the frame, because some genius, or maybe there were more than one genius involved in this process, painted over the existing black paint with some orange primer. Looks like a sandable primer. It's kind of soft. You'll see once we get to the point where the paint bubbles under the stripper that it's really, you know, thick orange stuff, and the top layer of black is really, really thin, and so any sort of dings to the frame, the whole thing just has these spots that are orange, just basically glowing through the black paint on the top. And also they didn't take any stickers, warning stickers like tire pressure stickers. All that stuff is still there under the paint, as I found out, as the kind of that orange stuff just bubbled up. Here you can see how that black just comes off with a couple brush strokes of the stripper, and looks like maybe like rattle cane paint job or something like that. But you know, I'm gonna go with the rattle can over it anyway. But yeah, you can see the orange stuff just peeling underneath in huge chunks. So I just applied the paint stripper with the brush, kind of went over it, the frame where I could, removed the bulk of the paint with a plastic scraper thingy, and then pulled out a couple I think like copper brushes and tried to scrape off the whole thing. Yeah, this is a very messy procedure. So as the paint stripping process continues, you can see I have to apply more and more of the stripper because that orange stuff is really thick on it, really thick. And here we go, I pulled out a brush, and we're gonna trying to scrape off as much paint as I can before this thing sets. The stripper is really nasty, kind of smelling like some sort of acid actually. In the first try I put on just the blue gloves you would buy in any auto parts store, I think in nitrite or something like that, and although it does make the hole, the stripper just goes right through it and starts burning your hands. So I just pulled out some leather gloves that worked nice for this. The paint stripper didn't soak through. So yeah, the whole frame is intricate and a bunch of pieces everywhere that need lots of attention. Yeah, some flat parts. This paint stripping plastic spatula thing works very well. Kind of the whole orange stuff comes off, the black thin paint on the top, and some of the black factory paint comes off, but kind of all the stuff underneath is left. Yeah, you can see there's some labels underneath. There was another label here, one here. So yeah, they didn't prep the frame for painting, you just went over it. So this is the piece that goes under the engine, and also I'm gonna strip all the mounting brackets. They're also orange underneath with a bunch of chips, and like the fan shroud and all that, because the bottom has a bunch of rust spots and paint is bubbling up. So I'm just gonna go and strip all that out. Eventually we'll have to sand it, and in the end repaint it. Yep, you can see the black paint coming off. and there's like silver primer left underneath. All these parts are tricky to get scraped off. Eventually the paint stripper kind of dries and leaves a thick gooey film on it, and eventually dries into solid. But since it's already been messed with by the whatever acid is in the stripper, it's kind of soft. Some of those globs eventually I just scrape off with a screwdriver, and sanding, they're really soft too. Yeah, this paint stripping is really time-consuming process. You have to go multiple times with a stripper because the paint is so thick, and then trying to get into all the nooks and crannies. By this time I'm thinking maybe the sandblasting route would be better, but I'll still have to like paint it with a thick primer and sand it, because after sandblasting the material gets kind of porous and really needs a thick primer. I'm trying to avoid that. Just want to do the least amount of work here. So after the stripping, it will be sanding part. So here we go, get into the sanding part. I found a bunch of sandpaper I had laying around, various grits, just trying out which ones kind of dig into this, what's left quite nicely. So yeah, there was so much paint I couldn't even see if there was a VIN stamped into the headstock there, but eventually I found it after, I don't know, 7 layers of paint or something. Yeah, so lots of intricate details. That's the pain in the ass to sand this thing. But eventually we'll get all the orange stuff out of it, respray it with some black paint, and start putting this thing back together again.